Iggy, see if you can find some info on the shooting that happened last night.
Oh, they start on a wire.
It happened at like 8 o'clock last night. Some guy went to a school with a mask on.
Yeah, I see one of the articles here, but this one's kind of sidetracked. This one's the regarding his plans to attack schools. Yeah, just schools.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I'm gonna see if I can find the stat. U.S. has like the most like everything, right? When you start talking about like mass murders or suicide, sorry, not self delete, uh, in stuff like that. Like the U.S. is like the top on the list of all those things.
Because I know one year I was reading in a book. One year Lithuania was the number one with the self deletion rate. Yeah, because I guess they're saying that because it's constantly raining and.
I pulled up a New York Times article. On Monday night, the usually busy streets of Michigan State University sprawling campus fell silent after a gunman opened fire in 2 buildings, killing 3 students and wounding 5 others. For hours, students and faculty and staff members sheltered in place, many in dormitories and other campus buildings, as hundreds of police officers searched for the gunman. Students across the campus in East Lansing, more than 80 miles northwest of Detroit, expressed fear. Among them was Jane Alden, a senior nursing major who on Monday night was at the University Students' Union building to do homework with her boyfriend. She heard 3 gunshots and quickly dove into a corner before sprinting out of the building. I thought I was going to die, Miss Nodland said. It sounded like he was right there. So what happened? The gunman first opened fire at Berkeley Hall, home to the University College of Social Science, shortly before 8:30 p.m., killing 2 people.
What state was it again?
Michigan.
That's what I thought.
Killing 2 people. Chris Rosman, the interim deputy university police chief, said at a news conference on Tuesday morning the gunman later moved to the Michigan State Student Union, a popular place for students to eat and study, where he killed a 3rd person. The 2 buildings, just minutes apart on Grand River Avenue, were both unlocked and open to the public. Not long after the shooting began, the university sent an email alerting students, many of whom were in dormitories, libraries, and other campus buildings, to shelter in place or evacuate while the authorities searched for the shooter. After a 3-hour manhunt, the university police said the gunman was found off campus around 11:30 p.m. and had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Shelter-in-place orders were lifted, and students quickly returned to their homes or were reunited with their families.
Okay, so yeah, there are a lot of shootings for sure.
It's the high. We have the highest in the world. I mean,
no details were given about the type of weapon used, but Mr. McRae was arrested in Lansing.
We have so
highest shooting, but
mass shootings, yeah, in the United
this guy
States.
Previously was also
101 compared to Russia's 21. Second.
Russia's 21.
That's second.
I
Compared to our
think
101.
I think there was a
France at 8 at third, Germany at 5 compared to our 101.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but I think when you compare total homicides,
so this is mass shootings.
Mass shootings.
So total mass shootings that have happened in the country in total.
Are you sure though? Because in Africa, in like Botswana and Uganda, those places, those are like massacres there. I'm talking about mass shootings.
I think when they think,
plus.
yeah, it's kind of. I feel like I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
And how much older these countries are, and the way that the world used to be back then.
That's what I'm saying. Like back in 40s, there was.
I think they put that
people dying every minute.
I think that they put those I don't know if that's the right word, epidemics of like when those things were happening into maybe like more of like massacres or genocide, or you know what I mean? Like they might put it into a different class. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, I mean,
I think mass shooting is a very let's look up the definition of mass shooting.
Look at the gun violence in the U.S., including self-deletes.
Excluding.
Excluding.
Look up at the gun violence. Yeah, but you can't. I don't think you can compare the gun violence. Like we're saying, gun violence, but then, you have the stabbings and killings, but with other type of weapons or like with fists, right? In other countries, like you're gonna have I think Russia would probably lead that, or would be before United States as far as like homicide goes. I mean, gun or no gun, like homicide is a homicide, no matter how you do it. So I think it's more of a human issue rather than object or tool issue. Because remember that thing a couple of years ago in London that happened. The guy drove the truck into the crowd and killed a bunch of people, and then there was another one. Couple of there were I think I don't want to misquote this. I think there were like 4 or 3 radical Muslims that went out in London with machetes and just like chopping people down.
But like, it's
Here's
different
an
though
interesting
because
fact.
what's up?
It's gonna be hard not to say that word, but okay. Though they tend to get less public attention than gun-related murders, self-deletes have long accounted for the majority of U.S. gun deaths.
Yes.
In 2020, 54% of all gun-related deaths in the U.S. were self-deletes, 24,292, while 43% were murders, 19,384 according to the CDC.
And what is that in comparison? Well, those are just gun violence, right? And then remove the self deletes.
The remaining gun deaths that year were unintentional, which were 535. And then involved law enforcement were 611 or had undetermined circumstances, 400 of those.
What do you think is a good way they should? Because we definitely need some reform on how easy it is to get a gun. I think we can agree on that, right?
Well, there was a guy in 2019. They made this. So here's what's happening. Right now, when you do get a weapon, you go to a registered weapon, and it's all paper forms. So if something does happen, they recover the weapon, and they have to go by hand and look up these records, search these records by hand, and then to match the serial number of the weapon to the owner, and then try to figure out who did it. So in 2019, this kid created a application that would literally scan through these papers, actually scan handwriting, and take these papers into the database, and then they would take the serial numbers, and immediately, within a second, they could get a result. As far as instead of by somebody by hand reading them, they would use this. It wouldn't even store the data. It would not store any of that stuff. It would just store the serial number.
And like who it belonged to.
No, not even that. So they would use this. My understanding is they would use this AI pretty much to scan through these papers instead of somebody actually reading it, and thus making it much faster to recover who's the culprit. But apparently the runaround he was given is that would eliminate a lot of jobs, so they didn't take it. And the guy wasn't going to sell it. He was just going to give it for free to United States government. So I mean, definitely cataloging better, but I don't think it's a tool issue. I think it's a human issue.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to get at is that if
25 each, you really have to mean it.
If when the guy, whoever goes and wants to commit one of these mass shootings, it's very easy. It's a lot easier, let me say, than compared to other countries, and I mean how it really should be for someone to access firearms in let's say a bad mental state.
Yeah, but see the thing
and
is,
I get what you're saying. It's a problem of the people thing, but it's not a good thing that we have such easy access for them to be able to, because it's not the same thing as when someone's mad and goes and takes a knife and tries stabbing a bunch of people. Yeah, he might stab 5, 6, but then he's gonna get tracked down by the police. I mean, in a matter of seconds, you can kill 30.
You can, and I'm sure. No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but I think like at the end of the day, now I don't know the statistics on deaths, violent crime deaths, done with the weapon or without the weapon. Well, done with a firearm, without the firearm. What the ratio of that is in other countries, and then again, I think you would just need to take the total amount of violent deaths versus total amount of violent deaths, and say, okay, whether our society in the United States has that issue in comparison to someone else, and how we can prevent that from happening. Because, 2 plus 2 is 4, 1 plus 3 is 4. It doesn't matter how you do it. There's still like a person that not passed away, whether you do it with the weapon or without, or with the firearm or without.